Alright, so working on the Mustang again. Last video, we got it running. I know the wiring's a mess. It's just temporarily. Everything's just temporarily hooked up just to make sure it starts, make sure it runs, make sure everything works. It did start. Everything's good there. So the next thing I'm going to start working on is lower coolant hose. Upper coolant hose has to be changed because it's resting on the header now. And then we're going to start working on the exhaust. I got the chop saw set up, little belt sander. And we're going to be making an exhaust out of 2.5 inch. Actually, all the old stuff we took off the Mustang. So this is what I got to work with here. It's not a lot, but we don't have a lot of exhaust. We got some weird bends. We got some stuff we can use here. We got the chop saw if we need to do a bunch of weird cuts and stuff like that, but we'll get going on the exhaust and see how it goes. Alright, so this is the factory Ford lower radiator hose. It goes up to the coolant reservoir tank and it's mounted on the top of the radiator. And none of these bends were lining up the way I want them to, and what I figured out is they originally have these plastic clamps, or plastic, they're like molded plastic on the lines, and they look like they don't come apart, but if you take a little Dremel or something and just slice them, you can peel them off, and then when you pull the hose off, it's just a regular T fitting. So I'm going to pull all these off, get this in the car where I want it, and then I'll just get regular hoses to connect this up where it goes. So I used 2 of these straights. One of them's got a cap in it. One of them is going to be the factory Ford temperature sensor. I know it's on the cooler line. It's supposed to be on the hot side, but it's for the factory Ford gauge, and they're not notoriously accurate anyways. I just want to make the gauge work on the dash so it's not just stuck at 0 all the time, so I don't really care. I'm going to be running a second temperature gauge that actually reads the temperature of the engine based off the temperature inside the block, so that'll be fine. So I just took a bunch of old radiator hose I had. This is going to come up to the coolant tank that sits up here on the radiator, and that's the lower hose. So there is the lower hose. That's what we're going to do for now. Get a bunch of hose clamps on it and get it installed. Alright, so the lower radiator hose is completely on. This hose comes up to the coolant tank here, goes to the thermostat. Upper hose is on. Now we're moving on to exhaust. Now what I think I'm going to do for the exhaust is I think I'm going to chop this header off. You can weld on these headers. I'm going to chop this header off right here. We're going to see how it's pointing up right now. We're going to spin it 180 degrees. It's going to point down and forwards. It's going to point down right here. We're going to run the exhaust right down through here, go under the bottom of the car, go across to the other side of the car, and then it's going to come up right in this area. This one's going to come over. They're going to Y and come into one pipe right here. So that's what we're going to do with that. Obviously, all of this exhaust is going to have to get some pretty thick heat wrap put on it to prevent it from melting things. This fan shroud's all plastic. But we'll address that as we go and see how close it is to everything. Alrighty, so we got the header cut off, nice and round, fit at the right angle. You got this little bend here that was pointing up. Now if we put it in, we can spin it to where we like, something around there. It's hard to hold with one hand, but we'll get it tacked in place there. That'll go down, kind of sort of something like that. And we'll keep going from there. So we're going on the exhaust here. I got this tacked on. I'm using gasless welding wire, so it's making a bunch of slag and stuff, but that's just to tack everything because it's the only welder I have out here. Once I get it all done, all tacked, I'll take it off, I'll take it into the other shop, we'll weld it up with the actual MIG. Nice, but there's that started. So you can see, I go dropping stuff, but it's not touching the frame. It is close to the coolant line, but we'll heat wrap this thing like crazy so it doesn't get anything hot. Had to trim the fan shroud just a tiny bit. It goes down to the bottom and comes out right now, right here on the bottom. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this off up here. We're gonna go 90. It's gonna come across almost straight, go up over to here, 90 again, and straight up. And that is this side pretty much finished. So we'll do all that, get everything tacked up. We got 2 V-bands to put on the bottom of here because or else you wouldn't be able to get the thing out of the car. Get those put on, get everything tacked, then we'll take everything off, get everything welded, and then we'll start working on the Y where they come together up top. Alright, so there is it fully welded up. Kind of hard to see because it's dark, but it goes down goes through there, comes out the bottom, the V-band right here. So there it is coming through. It's a little close, but we'll see what it does to the V-band. It's gonna go across and straight up. So we're gonna stop there for today because it's getting dark, and we will work on it again next time.